My brother was awesome, and my parents loved him. So did I. On the other hand, my parents tolerated me. I wasn't good at sports, school, or anything else. I was pretty much an afterthought. When my brother got into medical school while I was in community college, my parents helped him out so he could graduate without debt. He had a bright future ahead, and they wanted him to achieve. I was told I had to get student loans, which I did. I also finally accepted my place in their world and went low contact. Mostly we only talked at some events for my brother. I ended up getting my master's, and I like my career. I enjoy helping people, but I had to plan for my future. I knew I could have a good life with a partner, but that kids would lower my standard of living, so I had a vasectomy. I met my wife, and she's on board with being child-free. We have a small house in a low cost of living town and a couple of dogs. My brother died on his honeymoon. My parents are devastated. I'm not doing much better. My wife and I traveled to my hometown for the funeral. I saw my folks and went to see how they were. The last time we spoke was before my brother's wedding the previous month. They were obviously distraught. My mom said that I should name one after my brother when we had kids. I wasn't really thinking straight, so I told the unvarnished truth. I had to choose between kids and paying off my student loans. She asked what I meant, so I admitted that I'd gotten a vasectomy and would not be having kids. I always figured she'd get her grandma needs met by my brother. My dad blew up at me for making such a stupid decision. I had basically decided to end our branch of the family tree. I said I always thought my brother would provide them with grandkids, and that if I had kids, they would be afterthoughts like I was. I went back home afterward instead of hanging around. My mom is having some breakdown from my brother passing away, and now with me telling her that I won't be having children, my dad is just angry. I'm hearing from family that I was insensitive to put it the way I did. They've not shown much interest in me since I was 12. My dad called and offered to pay to get my vasectomy reversed. I told him my wife didn't want kids. I reminded him that we said to them that we were child-free, and they didn't care until my brother died. Am I the idiot for telling my parents that they made me choose between paying my student loans and having kids? Not the idiot. Once again, your parents are putting what they want first, regardless of whether it would put you in financial ruin. They don't care. Just care about what they want. Don't be afraid to go low to no contact with them. You should never have a kid to please someone else. Having a kid is the biggest change in your life and the most significant responsibility you can take on. That's your choice, and they don't have a say, especially if they treated you like crap and then expected you to be a replacement for their perfect child. But the branch of the family tree. Who's going to inherit the family estate and titles? Who's going to preside over the serfs and defend the kingdom? The parents expect a grandson to be the replacement. Otherwise, they don't give a crap about OP. I'm sorry, OP. And you just know if OP had a boy, they would pressure him to name him after the missing brother. And then the poor grandkid would be a second parenting attempt for the parents and carry the weight of his dead uncle on his shoulders. They totally forgot that you lost your brother too. I'm so sorry for your loss. Now guilt-tripping you for your decision to live a child-free life? Your parents are the idiots here. I can never understand this way of thinking. Are these parents of some noble bloodline? Do they carry the cure to cancer in that bloodline? Or are they the direct descendants of Jesus? Or are they the real bloodline of the throne of England? On another note, it does say a lot that they immediately thought about grandchildren, and not that they lost a son, a brother, or a husband. If the now widow turns up pregnant in a few weeks, I hope she learned from the funeral how little her in-laws thought of her at that time. My son is graduating high school in 2 weeks. I had some turmoil at that age, so I didn't graduate and had to get my GED a few years later. I didn't go to college, so I'm incredibly proud of him and all he's accomplished in school. He also got into an Ivy League college, which made me even prouder. Here's the problem. My wife and several family members, including her brother and father, went to this same Ivy school. So my wife really pushed for him to go there, an unhealthy amount. She's always run a tight ship with his schooling over the years, while I've been more lax and said that if he's legitimately trying his hardest between school and extracurricular and social life, then all is okay, even if he struggles sometimes. Now that the payoff is here, my wife insists that he go to this school. I've told him he can go anywhere he wants and go into whatever field he wants, or he could even take a gap year and go straight to work, whatever makes him happy. He got into an Ivy. He showed he was good enough. Now let him follow his dreams. My son made 2 visits to this school and confided in me that he didn't want to go there because of both the culture and he felt like the program he was interested in was better at another school. He was scared to tell his mom to disappoint her. The 3 of us sat down and talked about how he was feeling. My wife was disappointed but accepted his decision, although we argued a week later about how he might regret this years from now. Once the news broke that he wouldn't go to the Ivy, my wife's family disagreed with the decision. I laid down the law with how this was his choice, and he's still going to an excellent school, and he's pursuing his passion. So I will not tolerate any harassing him or telling him that he's making the wrong choice. Most didn't put up much of a fight, but my wife's brother's being a real jerk about it. All 3 times that we've seen him in the past 2 months, since this all started, he's commented to my son about how the Ivy's much better. I yelled at him the last time when I saw it, and he lamely apologized. So my son's graduation is in 2 weeks, and his party with family and friends will be a few days later. My son told me privately that he doesn't want his uncle to be there because he's uncomfortable around him and doesn't want to feel that way at his party. I said, okay, no problem, and texted brother-in-law that he needed to sit this party out because he was making my son feel bad for his choices. As can be expected, I'm now under fire from my wife's family. Everyone's mad that I'm excluding him from celebrating my son's accomplishments and that my son can toughen up and whatnot. And my wife is angry that I went over her head. I felt like my wife would not be willing to cut out her brother, so I made the decision myself. I can accept partial blame for going over her head, but I have no regrets. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot with regards to brother-in-law. Good of you to stand up and support your son. You are the idiot for not having a conversation with your wife about it first. But it sounds like you may owe brother-in-law an apology gift, maybe a nice hoodie from your son's college. Or since you've established that you sometimes make decisions without consulting others, just slap a bumper sticker on his ride. It's the thought that counts. I disagree with the "you are the idiot" part because it's OP's son who said he doesn't want his uncle there. He told OP privately because he knows that his mom doesn't have his back and will not help or support him in this. I imagine OP's wife haranguing her own, not only about his university choice, but in not wanting his disrespectful, harassing uncle there. I suspect OP's wife would have overruled both OP's and her son's preferences. She may do that, so OP should be ready for uncle to show up, be rude and obnoxious, and say, well, sis invited me. Who cares what the graduate wants? After all, he was supposed to be an obedient little soldier and go to the preordained university. OP had to have known that his wife would not have backed him up or respected her son's independence, choices, and frankly, mental health. I received mixed responses from my group of friends, and some said I was wrong, so I decided to ask. My husband and I were invited to a birthday party. We asked if we could bring anything, and the host said it wasn't needed, but we could if we wanted to. Since I don't like showing up empty-handed anywhere, I thought purchasing some boutique donuts from an artisanal donut shop near us would be nice. We got a bunch of donuts and one gluten-free donut for my husband, who can't have gluten. Side note, no one at the party has any gluten issues, and we know these people fairly well. We got to the party and set the donuts down. Immediately, this kid and his mom decided to come on over, in her words, because these are the best donuts in town. Wow, thank you for bringing them. I opened the boxes, and immediately, this kid threw his hands on the gluten-free one. I kindly said, oh, sorry, I'm saving that one for my husband. He can't have gluten. I picked the donut out, set it aside, and proceeded to tell him all the wonderful flavors that I got. Cookies and cream, Nutella. It was donuts galore. The kid immediately started crying because he wanted the one I took away, and his mom proceeded to begin tearing at me and yelling at me for not just giving him the donut. He's just a kid. I was stunned, and I immediately just left the situation, went outside with my husband's donut, and gave it to him. I was mortified. I thought she would calm down, but no. The lady proceeded to go outside and make a scene about it. A big argument ensued about how I refused her kid a donut. It was comical at this point. I calmly stated my point again. This donut was for my husband, who's gluten-free, and I know no one there has an issue with gluten, so her child could have one of the others. This lady wouldn't let it go, so here's where I might be the idiot. I'm sick of her entitlement at this point, so I just told her that. She's an entitled little brat, and now I know where her kid gets it from. She starts crying, making a scene, and leaves the party. The host and everyone there was mortified, and then they tell me that I should have just handed the kid the donut. My husband stuck up for me, and we decided to leave early. Not the idiot. You handled the situation as best as you could. Kids take after their parents, and it sounds like they're an entitled family. Their lack of empathy is pathetic, and honestly, it's sad that she's being such a bad role model for her kid. Maybe she was going through something, but no adult with decent manners and respect for others would give that much crap about a donut. Discipline your kid and move on. Maybe the only thing to do differently would have been just to keep the donut separate from the beginning. Still, again, you already went out of your way to bring something, so it really shouldn't matter. People are so entitled nowadays, and it's ridiculous. Hope your husband enjoyed the donut. He's just a kid? Lady, what's your excuse? It's one thing for a child to be unreasonably attached to the one donut that they can't have and cry about it. Even generally well-behaved and reasonable kids have their moments of being totally absurd. But it's pretty bizarre for an adult to be like, yeah, I agree with this child's madness. Can you imagine this kid's life in a few more years? What a nightmare. You did the right thing. That woman needs to learn to put her foot down with her child. Her kid acted massively entitled and obnoxious, and so did she for fighting this battle for him. Everyone will have to learn to accept no at some point. I guess mom never learned this lesson, and she's refusing to teach it to her kid. Good on you for standing up for your partner's medical or dietary needs and choices. I'm vegan. If I bring several treat items to a party, and not all of them are vegan, I'd set the vegan stuff aside to ensure there'll be something for me to eat. I, female 26, have been married to my husband, 30, for 2 years. I'm currently 18 weeks pregnant as well. My sister-in-law, 31, has a teen son, Riley, and a young grammar school son. Riley is a very troubled boy. I don't really know the details, but I've always loved my sister-in-law and her children, so she tells me about his sugar and alcohol issues, starting when he was just a kid. He's been in legal trouble and in and out of clinical settings and therapy. According to her, Riley has been getting better recently. So she asked my husband and me if he and his little brother could stay with us for a few days while she and her husband went to a funeral. We said yes, of course. Well, to make a long story short, at first the boys were super friendly and happy. We watched the movie. I made dinner, and the youngest even told me about his plans for the future. It was all very nice. Then Riley got into an argument with my husband. I was in the next room over and heard it start. It was because my husband moved Riley's jacket. I walked in just to see what was happening. Riley was very upset, and my husband wasn't doing a very good job calming him, to be honest. I walked up and gently suggested Riley come with me to cool off. He agreed. However, when we were walking to the bedroom where I was going to talk to him calmly, Riley suddenly decided he wanted to try and fight my husband again and shoved me into the wall to run back. He shoved me hard enough that my head hit a jacket hook on the wall, and I was bleeding. After that, my husband called sister-in-law and demanded that they come home. My husband took Riley to a hotel for the night, and I stayed with the younger boy who was a sobbing mess after this. So I told sister-in-law I would never have Riley in my house again. She was so apologetic, but I didn't care. I'm pregnant, and Riley knows this, and he shoved me. He consistently tried to fight with my husband. He makes his brother cry all the time. My sister-in-law wasn't even mad. I said I didn't want Riley there anymore. but she thinks it's unfair. I said never again, and that his brother can still come, but I don't want Riley there. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, and my dollars are on Riley having something illegal in that jacket. His mom said his problem started when he was a kid. He's a teen now. What age was he exactly when his problem started? Riley is a danger. Sister-in-law needs to handle him and get him help. He assaulted you. Both he and his parents are lucky you didn't call the police and press charges. However, you need to document everything. And honestly, I probably would have filed a police report because he assaulted you and you're pregnant. I'm apprehensive about his brother and his safety. His brother's not safe in that home with him. You should call CPS. Alcohol and sugar problems for an extended period as a mid-teen? Calling the police before this kid is an adult might be a good wake-up call. CPS might also be a good call. The younger one doesn't sound safe. You would be an idiot if you didn't report that serious assault. This kid needs an intervention that sister-in-law isn't giving him. My 28 male sister, 30, is getting married in about a month, and her fiance, 31 male, with whom I have a very good relationship, had his bachelor party this weekend. I was invited and hadn't been to many of those, but it seemed like standard bachelor party stuff to me. We just went pub crawling and ended up in a club. I don't know what sort of agreement future brother-in-law had with my sister about this party, and I didn't ask, and I certainly wasn't prepared when my sister texted me today asking about the party. It started with a simple, "How was it?" and eventually it moved to, "Did he do anything?" Of course, as her brother, I was the only person she could ask. The other guests were his personal friends, but I told her she should stop questioning me and ask her fiancé if she wanted to know anything. I didn't even see him do anything remotely inappropriate for this context anyway, but the fact that I didn't want to get involved and refused to say anything made her feel like I was indeed covering for him. So when she insisted, I just told her to stop being insecure about it. Apparently I was crossing the line because she just called me up to say that I had no right to judge her like that. I told her that's how she was coming across to me. Am I the idiot here? You are the idiot. It wouldn't have cost you anything to say nothing happened. I've been to bachelor parties and nothing happened is not the default answer. Worry and suspicion are valid feelings for her in this situation. All you did was heighten her suspicions about what her fiancé did or didn't do. Your non-answer was an answer, and not a good one. You left your sister worried and your friends in a world of crap. 2 words could have made everything better, but you refused to say it for some reason. Idiot move for sure. Call me old-fashioned, but I think it's a bit weird to marry someone you think is cheating on you during his literal bachelor party for the wedding. And if my sibling had asked such an uncomfortable question, I'd be a bit peeved. It sounds like run-of-the-mill trust issues, and that'll only get worse if she feeds into it and acts as his babysitter. Exactly. LMAO, you are not the idiot. If she doesn't trust him, why let him go to a bachelor's party? Why is she marrying the guy if she doesn't trust him and his words now? If he wants to cheat, he'll find a way. This is a matter between them, and you made the right decision to stay out of it. It's because even the ones you assume wouldn't do anything end up doing something. Also, a lot of people have no club rules and think it's a deal breaker. Some women hear stories from their friends about how their partner apparently was pressured by his friends to say yes to the wildest things during their bachelor parties because it's their last day being single, or whatever stupid excuse they have. My friend ended up canceling her wedding because her ex claimed his friends pressured him into going to clubs, getting private dancers when they agreed against it, and making out with random women, etc. OP, you are the idiot. She's your sister. Show some maturity and tell the truth rather than stirring up drama.